I've been watching Dark play in Terran versus Zerg. Or I guess from his perspective, Zerg versus Terran. And Dark's really good at this game. The thing is, though, he's been playing Roach Ravager into a couple of Infestors, into Hydra Lurker, into Viper, into Lingbane. It's a little complex, but yesterday we spent like an hour and a half staring at Dark replays. Now all I need to do is just execute. So it's gonna be easy. One thing I've learned from Dark's games is that he just fucking wings it every time. He goes 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool, and then he's like... Roach Warren. Like, it's very random. Sometimes it's before the 3-minute mark. Sometimes the Roach Warren goes up at like, I don't know, 4 minutes, 3:30. 3:30 seems to be roughly what he's aiming for, but he just kind of does it whenever he feels like it. Which is very different from the other highly ranked Zerg players. They all play the game very rigidly, and I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna try and do something similar. There are definitely some themes in his game, but game's pretty hard, and I'm still a little rusty. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah, I'm just gonna try and play like Dark here, guys. Dark's really good in ZVT, right? So it's good. It's gonna be easy. Don't worry about it. I'm not really too concerned. I think he does a triple CC start. Or, sorry, triple hatch start every time. Yeah, but he wings it, but, like, not at, like... You know, at a low level. He wings it, but is actually still good. You know what I mean? And that's the big difference between, like, someone like Dark and me. Whenever I wing it, I play like an absolute idiot. Anyways, 2 sets of Zerglings here, going for the 3rd base early.
Happy
Scout
New
what's going
Year,
on.
Loco.
Yo, you too, Slasher. Congratulations. With surviving another year. Hell yeah, dude. Happy New Year. Okay, there's our 3rd. Overlord. Jimmy, get out of the way. I was actually supposed to inject, I think, with the queens, but it's okay. Did I not? Okay, I think I said a ready point, but... So I've noticed Dark makes like 3.5 minutes or so, roughly, is what he aims for, it seems. And then he goes into, like 5 roaches for defense, but most of it is just dedicated to drone production. So he might make a couple of roaches and fake a push or something along those lines. But, the thing is, with the 3.5 minute Roach Warren timing, Terran doesn't know if it's going to be an all-in or not. So it's actually kind of hard for them to see what's happening and how they should be approaching things. Okay, so I'll add on 1 right now. After the Reaper is gone, he's probably going to come back in. He'll probably find my Roach Warren here eventually, but I don't really care.
We require more minerals. We must. We require more minerals. Not enough energy.
Okay. We'll leave on 1 gas. Add a couple new drones into the gas. Let me start running up the 3rd. He doesn't really bother scouting all too much either, I've noticed, which is kind of funny. Roach Warren's done. Okay. And I'll make 5 safety roaches, which is what Dark seems to do, so... Dark goes for about a 5 minute or so lair. Like, I'm taking averages here, roughly, right? So, like I said, he's winging it a lot, so I don't really know exactly what he does, but... About a 5 minute lair, and then we'll go from there. Haven't really seen a whole lot yet from my opponent, though. It's a bit rough. Okay, we'll push out with these. My spores were actually too soon here. I probably should have not made those yet, but it's fine.
We require more minerals. We require
Okay.
more minerals. We require an attack.
So he sees my roaches right now. We're just kind of pushing. Not really not really expecting a whole lot of aggression. Oh. Are those concussive shelled marauders? I think they might be.
We require more minerals.
Okay, we're gonna have to try and defend.
We require.
It's a lot of units actually you guys got right now. Yeah, I think he's actually got the Medefect boost right here. So I might be in some trouble.
Not enough. We require more minerals. Our forces are under attack.
Yeah, I think he boosted down a couple of my roaches there that were on the other side of the map with concussive shells. Just nicely done by him. Okay. So he goes Hydra then and Infestation Pit around the same time. So we're just trying to be cool here.
Minerals. We must place that on creep.
Oh god. Okay. Going for the upgrades here. Still not entirely used to the new keyboard yet either, by the way, which doesn't really help me too much, but it's okay. Don't think we really want to push into that. Okay. Got the upgrade here. Straight into a hive. And then I've noticed he always makes 2 infestors. Now, I'm not very good at infestor control, especially not while I'm rusty.
We require more.
But we'll try.
Gas. We require more Vespid. We must place that on creep. We must place that on creep. Our drones are
Okay, I'll push across if he's being annoying here. Okay, lurker den.
The hive cluster is under attack. So, we must place that on metamorphosis complete.
Is he playing mech? I think he might just be, huh?
Our forces are under attack.
Okay.
Mutation.
Okay. Going into the next upgrades. There's a couple of drones following each other around here. That's what's going on. Okay.
The hive cluster is under attack. Our forces are under attack. Mineral field depleted. Metamorphosis complete. Mineral field depleted. Mineral field dip. Our forces are under attack.
Okay. I think we're in a very good position here. It's just that I'm kind of struggling with the multitasking because I'm just kind of rusty, right? Like, my creep spread here definitely isn't as good as it should be.
The hive cluster is under attack. We require more Vespine gas. Metamorphosis complete. We require not enough.
Got both of the lurker upgrades here.
Drones are under attack.
Okay. Fungal working out quite well for me so far.
Not in mutation. We require
Gotta go for a big push here.
Vespine gas. Mineral field depleted. Not enough energy.
How many queens do I have? Okay, I have a couple, but...
Mineral field depleted. Not enough energy. Metamorphosis complete. Metamorphosis complete. Our forces are We require more Vespine gas. Mineral field depleted. Metamorphosis complete.
GG! Alright. So that was not even a lowly ranked player. Yeah, I think it was 5.3k on the loading screen. Which means he was playing, yeah, unranked here. But that's pretty good. 5.3k on NA. Which would make him like the rank... Alright, right around this area. Give or take rank 69. Alright, so this was kind of the playstyle I tried copying just now in the game. This is probably the best execution I've seen of it. Which is Dark versus Bjorn. Dark really does seem to wing it in a lot of his games though. But let's see if I at least got the general gist of it right. So yes, hatch gas pool. And then he goes for about a 3.5 minute Roach Warren. Now, like I was trying to say, he really does seem to take the Roach Warren at random timings. I'm assuming it's all on purpose, just because it makes it hard for the opponent to judge exactly what's happening. So, sometimes he takes it like 310, sometimes 350, sometimes before the 3 minute mark. I guess at this level, it makes sense to just have like a general outline rather than play super rigidly. Although a lot of the pro gamers do play very rigidly and like get things at the exact time every time. But Dark really does play freestyle most of it seems. At least that's what I'm guessing. Like, I might be wrong. Maybe he's got a very deliberate approach, and it just seems random, but I'm pretty sure he's like, I kind of want a Roach Warren. I forgot an Overlord. I guess right now. Yeah, this is a different map. So I was playing on Hardwire. This is on 2000 Atmos. So the progression is going to be slightly different, but... So he goes for a third queen right away, as soon as the queen in the natural spawns. This was a mistake from me. I accidentally injected with the second queen. I autopiloted, which isn't great. So there's the Roach Warren. So this time around it's a 310-ish. I made the 5 roaches right away, or at least like after... When did he... Actually, let me see real quick, because I wasn't sure exactly when I needed to resaturate the main gas again. I did it right after link speed was finished. So he actually skipped link speed here. That's what's going on. Okay. Yeah, I don't think you want to really go in your own games to skip Zerg link speed necessarily. It's kind of a gamble. Yeah, so there's 5 roaches coming up. And then a lair at 4 minutes. So I know in some of the other games, he really did take the lair at like the 5 minute mark. So he just seems to kind of wing it for a lot of these... For a lot of these games. And he didn't even really scout a whole lot, right? Like, he's not really seen anything. Anyways, so there's 5 roaches here, 6 roaches. And a bunch of slow Zerglings that are dancing around in the main base to intercept any drops. It's more or less like the general outline. So it's the lair. Then it's extra gases here once he's done saturating the natural. Makes sense. And then we go into droning the third base as well. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have attacked with my roaches in the previous game and just sort of keep them here. Which is what Dark is doing here too. But notice how little scouting he does, right? So like now we see a changeling going across, but all the other top level Zergs, they pretty much always go with a 4-minute Overlord scout. So they send in an Overlord at 3:45 to 4 minutes or so. And Dark just, I don't know. He's extremely successful. He's got like, what, $800,000 in earnings? But he's very hard to actually read or to like learn from. Just because it's so easy to accidentally mess up, right? It's usually easier to just play a rigid playstyle and do the exact same thing. But there are definitely some patterns. So, he's going into double Evo here. He's going into the Hydro Den and the Infestation Pit at the same time, which is what I tried doing as well. I think it goes Missile and Melee here. Or Missile and Armor, rather. Yes. And then instantly into a lair. My Lurker Den was actually a bit late. Probably should have made that a little bit sooner. So there's the 2 Infestors, and there's the Hive. So I said instantly into a lair. I meant instantly into a Hive. So that's the same. And then there's the Lurker Den. My Lurker Den was too late in that previous game. But what I like about this playstyle is that he does the same thing against both mech as well as bio. And he kind of just does the same thing every game. Regardless of whatever Terran is doing. Which is probably a good way of playing, right? Like, then it probably is a good style to go for. And once he's starting to set up for that transition from Roach Ravager into Hydra Lurker, he starts making a lot more Zerglings, and he basically stops Roach production altogether. Like, maybe right now he's still making some because he's expecting a push. But I've noticed that once he's, like, satisfied with the tech that he's got, once, like, the age of the Roach has come, it doesn't come back. Like, once he starts transitioning, unless it's, like, a completely desperate scenario, he tends to go full into Hydraling and then into Lurker. So there's the upgrades right there for the Lurkers. There's the Lurkers themselves. Now, naturally, when you start making Lurkers, you start flooding minerals. Because Lurkers are very gas-heavy. So the age of the Roach has come and gone now. And now he's going straight into Hydraling. And then after this upgrade, I believe he goes into the Baneling Nest relatively soon too. Yeah, so that's one addition that I didn't do. He goes for 3 Vipers here as well, which is obviously great. It's just extremely difficult to pull off. Because if you are microing Queen Roach Ravager Ling with Hydra Lurker and an Infestor, or 2 Infestors, and then also Vipers, I mean, it's extremely difficult. But technically, obviously, this is a good idea. So I only want Infestors in the game, but probably should have also added on some Vipers. I would have later on, but... Anyways, and then the follow-up from here is into the Banelings. I like this little engagement, by the way. So if you look at this from Dark's perspective, it's actually pretty sick. So he scouts right here, and he sees that Terran is setting up in this location. So at this point, he knows there's a siege tank. It's extremely easy to try and jump in this location right now. But what Dark does, and this is like one of the key characteristics of a good player, is he's very patient. So the Vipers only just now start up. Right? So in my mind at this point, if I would be in this scenario, I would try to jump this. I would try to jump this and try and kill this before it actually gets away. Right? So the actual position right now is 4 siege tanks here and a bunch of Marines. Probably breakable with this army, but very difficult to actually do. So Dark starts up the Vipers. And then he just kind of sits here. Which makes a lot of sense in hindsight when you see how the next engagement goes. But it's very easy to lose that patience and to like get a little bit too aggressive. So he still has the Zerglings over here. So he sees once again the large army that's out there. And he's just kind of chilling. Letting the Terran player comes to him. Or letting the Terran player come to him here. Transfusing an Overseer. Buying time right here with the units. Making sure he doesn't take a whole lot of damage right there. Vipers at this point are finally getting their energy out. Just casually getting the energy. And then when these units are ready to go, that's when he finally fights. So there's like a good minute of delay here, where he knows he can buy time with fungal here. So if he could have fungaled those marines, for example, that would have forced these units to back off. A couple of corrosive balls over the little edge over here. And then finally the Vipers get into the mix. It's abduct, 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 abduct. And the game is essentially won. Isn't that beautiful? That was a really beautiful fight. But that was like 2 minutes in the making, it felt like. Or at the very least in the game, it feels like 2 minutes. But you gotta have so much patience, because when Terran set up over here, he didn't even have the Viper started yet. Now is the point, though, where he does go a little bit too YOLO, I think. And he gives away the roaches. But then the age of the roach is over, and he basically replaces them with full Hydra. It's very cool. So now it's into 3-3. There's the Baneling Nest. We're going for a third Evo chamber. Oh, I guess he wants to start up melee upgrades because the Baneling Nest is actually a bit late. Anyways, the reason for the Baneling Nest is specifically because of the ghosts. So when you're playing Roach Ravager into Hydra Lurker Viper, ghosts basically counter all of it. However, the counter to ghosts is Banelings. So it feels a little bit strange to transition from Lurker Viper into Banelings. But it's specifically to deal with the ghosts. Anyways, this is a really clean game. Dark has a ton of minerals in the bank right now, though. Probably a little late with the 6 o'clock base. Yeah, and at this point, I mean, Terran's basically dead. Can't secure a low ground base here. Lurkers on the left as well. I mean, ghosts are still pretty good, but... There's even a... That's the next follow-up as well. There's even a Nidus Worm to get lurkers inside of the main base. Overseer's already in position. But doesn't need it. Relying on the Terran player not splitting their ghosts is probably not ideal. Especially when you're playing against Bjorn. Bjorn is pretty good at, like, making sure he doesn't accidentally give away a bunch of ghosts. So this is another game that Dark played against Clem, where he does the exact same thing again. I mean, he does it basically every single Terran versus Zerg, or Zerg versus Terran. I believe in this one, he goes for like a pre-3 minute Roach Warren. So this is like the soonest Roach Warren I've seen him make. So it's standard hatch gas pool. And then he once again skips the link speed until later. I think that's the right game anyways. I might be getting the game wrong, but... Queens, 2 sets of links. Sometimes he goes 3 sets of links. Sometimes he goes... Yeah, okay, now he goes 3. Sometimes he only makes 2 sets of links. I don't know. I can't really figure it out. I think he's just freestyling. He's like, now I've got 4. Now I've got 6. Must be hard to play against, though, right? Like, if you're playing against Dark in these ZVTs, it must be kind of tricky to know what he's actually doing. Because every game, like, he's doing something else. So you can scout him, but even though the general idea is still the same, he gets there slightly differently every time. So if I'm not mistaken, yeah, so he skips the 3rd queen here. That's the difference. And he goes for a faster Roach Warren. So now he does make, like, I think, like, 6, 7 roaches or something. And then he goes across the map with them. And then behind it, it's just droning. So, again, similar approach. But a different way in getting there. And this is especially good if they don't open up with Banshees, right? So, apparently Clem here decided to go for a Liberator. He's just trying to be annoying. He's droning behind it. So already 47 versus 34. 3rd CC though. Did start up right there for Clem, but I feel like if you do this on the ladder, a lot of Terran players will just panic and not even start up the 3rd command center. So there's the lair. There's the 1-1 upgrades. Notice that this time around, despite the fact that he had a much quicker Roach Warren, the upgrades are also much quicker. So even though he was going for like an aggressive push early on, he still goes for 1-1 upgrades sooner than last game. When at lair, I think he does still go into roach speed and then Hydra Den and infestation pit at the same time again. There's roach speed. And there's the infestation pit. And there's the Hydra Den. So there are themes, right? Like you notice how you got like different kinds of themes for each of these strategies, but it's all like leading, like all the roads lead to Rome. It all leads towards the same thing eventually. If I'm not mistaken, he actually skips the infestors in this one. But he does get the infestors in most of the games that I've seen him play. There's the hive. With the hive, he instantly started up the lurker den as well when he could. And then, once he's thinking about that lurker transition, he starts making Zerglings rather than roaches and ravagers just to save up some gas. So you can actually afford making lurkers and all of the upgrades. And then probably a few vipers as well. I would imagine the vipers are probably more important than the infestors, but in this game he probably didn't need the infestors because he dealt a bunch of damage early on. So I think the infestors are mostly just to not die to stupid stuff.
New subscriber detected.
Hey, thank you, Hyperelectric.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. It's not my birthday, but thank you for the 41 months. So there's the lurker ranged upgrade. And I think actually in this game, yeah, he accidentally wins. This was mostly just a push to start trading out the roaches and the ravagers. It wasn't even really a timing attack. But he essentially accidentally won just now, trading out the roaches and the ravagers very effectively. And then it's full on into lurkers, into all of the lurker upgrades. Into the banelings, into the 3-3. Yeah, so he seems to start up the baneling nest right around the same time as +3/+3, which makes sense. Now the lurkers are over at the third base of the Terran. And Terran's basically dead. Yeah, it's very clean. Very cool. What's cool about this as well, though, is that like Dark doesn't play the same way as like Serral and Raynor and Rogue and stuff. They all play kind of similarly sometimes. I mean, Rogue definitely does like to mix it up as well, but Dark seems to just freestyle most of it. It's pretty sick. Loko, so what you're saying is just build roaches into lurkers? Right. That's what I'm saying. You know, just play like Dark, and you too will win Zerg versus Terran. Okay, one more. Just to see if Dark does the same thing again. So this is another game against Björn. We are on Berlingrad. So Hedge Gas Pool. When are we going to take the Roach Warren this time around? Will it be 250? Will it be 310? Will it be 330? Pretty sure Dark doesn't even know at this point. Just winging it, man. So there's the Roach Warren now. So this is the more conventional timing. 325 or so. This is against the Benchy opener as well. So against the Benchy opener, you don't really want to be walking your 7 roaches across the map. So there's the roaches here for defense. Although, no. He's making a lot more this time around. How many did he make? Oh, no. He just made 7. Okay. When the replay is sped up, it seemed like he was adding on like 7 and then like 8 more or something. But no. So there's the lair. Bit sooner again. This was what? 4:45? No, earlier than that even. 4:30. Okay. I've seen him delay the second gas for a very long time. So he sometimes sits on 1 gas until he's got full 3-base mineral saturation. With, again, the same build. And then he delays the lair. Now he went for a quicker second gas. And he goes for the lair sooner. So there's the double gas in the net. And then we start droning the third. Roach Warren. Are we going to go Infestation Pit Evo Chambers? Hydra Den? There's the Infestation Pit. No Hydra Den yet. Probably because he's busy. So there's the 2 Infestors. Ooh. Yeah, so he actually misplayed. He probably started up the Hive here, and then he thought, okay, I want to start up the Lurker Den, and he's like, crap, I don't have a Hydra Den. That was because of the harassment there. So 1-1 upgrades into the 4th base, into the Lurker Den. A lot of extra overlords being made. That into Zerglings. When he wants to switch towards the lurkers. I think he's feeling a little threatened here. Okay, good fungals. There's the Viper and the first upgrade for the lurkers. Yeah, so very similar theme every time. Just a slightly different timing and a slightly different approach. But ultimately, it leads towards very similar situations. Pretty cool. How does Terran win against these? I don't think this is one of those strategies that's necessarily too strong. Because, I mean, none of the other top-level Zerg players play this style. But that's probably also one of the reasons why it's very strong, you know? Like, he plays it a little bit differently than most of the other highly ranked Zergs. And Terrans probably don't play against this all too often. Against someone who doesn't play very rigidly. But, yeah. He does very little scouting, though. Like, he basically doesn't scout until, like, changelings are available. So, there's the Lurker Den again. We're going into Adrenal Glands. So, this is, I think, gonna take a little bit longer. Yeah, so this is a longer game. Where he does go into the Lurkers from here, too. Nidus Worm instead of the main base. Oh, I actually casted this game. I was gonna say, I'm seeing some similarities. But, I mean... if you want to get better at Terran versus Zerg or Zerg versus Terran, right? You probably don't play against Bjorn. That's what I'm getting at. You could probably win the game by now. Yeah, so now we're going into melee. So it's all missile and armor upgrades first. And then after that, after we get to like the Hydra Lurker Ball, then it's a transition towards a lot of lurkers. Eventually then into Lingbait. Yeah, this was a banger of a match. This was a really good game. This was one of the first times well, not one of the first times, but... this was one of the games where I realized that this is something that Dark is playing consistently. Like, he's playing this style a little bit more consistently than I thought. I thought it was something that he pulled off occasionally in some of his matches, but it seems to be his standard now. Look, why does it seem that nobody really uses Mass Battlecruiser anymore? I remember before I used to see Mass Battlecruiser, but I haven't seen it in a long time. I guess Battlecruisers are just super expensive, right? Like, they're 400 minerals, 300 gas. Very pricey. And 8 Marines, you know, probably do better than a Battlecruiser. Put them in a Medivac and they're pretty sweet, man. Oh, I remember this game. This is where Dark does the sexy move. Is this the sexy move right here? I think this may be the sexy move right here. Yeah. So what he does is he neural parasites one of the ghosts, and then EMPs the other ghosts. And then all of a sudden, obviously, the lurkers can just walk in there. I mean, this might be a bit too many siege tanks, because Bjorn is basically inviting him. I do remember who ends up winning this now. It's one of the coolest moves you can pull off. Also one of the absolute hardest moves you can do, because this is still a very complex army to properly control. He does this like 5 times in this one replay, so I thought maybe... That was cool. So he neurals one of the siege tanks, and then it's targeting the other siege tanks. I think this is the game where he switches into Ultralisks. Yes! This is the game where he suddenly makes 10 Ultralisks. And Terran players will be able to see, and Zerg players alike too, why we don't really see Ultralisks anymore in the current meta. Well, we see them every once in a while, but yeah, you'll be able to notice why most Zerg players don't really go for Ultras. It's just a little bit shaky. So he's been very in control so far with the lurkers, and, you know, the armies have been trading well. And then he goes for 12 Ultralisks. Notice that Bjorn is currently at 134 supply. Dark is maxed. He's like, haha, got him now. Bjorn has absolutely no idea that the Ultras are coming. It's kind of funny, man. It's honestly kind of sad, really, but... Okay, so now the Ultras are spotted. I think this is the moment where Dark actually tries to chase it down. So here he comes. Right? He knows he's been winning pretty much every fight up to this point. Terran doesn't have a whole lot of stuff. There's a lot of Ultralisks. Yeah, when you're really far ahead and you feel like losing, that's a great moment to switch on over to Ultras. Anyways, great control right here, by the way, from Björn. But it's a good example as to why we don't really see Ultras. So initially, right? Pretty good battle. Right? That's pretty good. Zerg absolutely smashing. Okay. Here come the Snipperinos. Those Ultras died so quick, man. What was that? There were even some, like, EMPs and stuff, too. It's I mean, granted, you probably don't play against Björn in your games, but, you know. Assuming the ghosts don't die, Ultras should not be something that you transition into. It's a strange meat grinder for sure, but... Yeah, Ultras. They're such a cool unit, but they really are not very good. Should have just stuck around on more Lingbane. Oh, I think there was another one. Yep. You heard the assimilation? Oh. I don't even see the infestor, man. Assimilation. Okay, there we go. Oh, God, no. Ah, there we go. It's kind of hard to see. But there is an infestor right underneath there who's knurling the ghosts, and then the ghosts all get EMP'd. Pretty difficult to pull off. Now going in would be nice with the Ultras. Because they obviously need energy in order to use that ability. They can't use the steady targeting at this point. If you could have done that with that exact same move, it would have been beautiful. But, yeah. Look at the minimap, dude. It's actually crazy. Props as well to Björn for the way that he approaches these games these days. Like, the fact that he's still in this. This is where Björn goes full Bronze League and he lifts the structures and hangs them in the corner of the map. But he still has the Ghost Army, right? Until you get rid of the ghosts, it's pretty strong. There we go again. That's the command center going down. There's still one CC inside of the main. One over here too. But Dark, look at this stuff, man. It's actually insane how hard he has to work for this win against Björn. Pretty sick. I feel like this game got so much harder because he made 13 Ultralisks. Don't those 13 Ultralisks kind of make up the difference right here in the resources lost? I'm not exactly sure how much 13 Ultras cost, but I feel like it makes up most of that difference. Anyways. Yeah, this game was almost a loss here for Björn. Or, sorry, for Dark. Because he made Ultras. Should have just stuck around to the same army code. Either way. Very cool playstyle. So, to summarize, it's hatch gas pool into quick third hatch. Anywhere between 250 to a 4-minute Roach Warren. Anywhere between like a 4-minute to a 5-minute lair. Then you go into Evos when you can afford the upgrades. Then you go into the Hydro Den and the Infestation Pit at the same time. When the Infestation Pit is done, you go into the Hive and you transition towards a Lurker Den. You make 2 Infestors as well in the meantime, and you sit on Roach, Ravager, Ling, Infestor at that point with some Queen support. And then once you start transitioning towards Hydras, you add on Zerglings rather than Roaches to save up gas and go into the Lurker upgrades. Go into the Lurker upgrades, add on Vipers. Win. And don't make Ultras. That's the last final part. Don't do Ultras. Unless they don't have ghosts, but they should.